Welcome to Left Coast Live. It is Wednesday, May 8th. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, joined as always by stateless patriot of the Central Valley. How you doing, my man?
Oh, a lot better. My cat came in to say hi. I'm doing
Yeah, that
really
was
good.
nice. We got to
Yeah.
I'm using the green screen tonight, which means no doggies, unfortunately.
Oh.
So, yeah, I
Yeah.
know it's a bummer. I love it when they come in and visit me, but they would disturb the green screen, and that
Yeah.
cannot happen.
Yeah. Spinel never comes in there to say hi. Yeah, the
Oh, sweet girl.
setup looks really good, dude. Like you got, like I love like. Did you design this yourself, or was it something you found on Google,
What
or
the? Oh no,
the
the
image?
image. Yeah, the
Yeah.
background image I found on YouTube search.
Oh,
Just
that's
thought it
hella
looked
cool.
cool.
No,
Yeah,
that's. I
yeah,
mean, it's so suitable for like the theme that we've been harping away at. Like just the whole notion of politics being a sport and leftists needing to, I
accept
guess,
it.
yeah, yeah. You can't run away from it if that's like how a lot of people see it, and so like in that case, use it to our advantage, and well, okay, come back up here, come on, and yeah, using it to our advantage, learning from it.
I think it's also just reality. It's just people don't. We'll talk about it more with our special guest, Gavin from the Vanguard, is about to join us here in a few minutes. And I've been on their show a couple of times talking about sports culture. They always lose a lot of viewers whenever I come on because a lot of their viewers don't really care about sports, which is
Right.
understandable and something that the left actually needs to address and understand that maybe that's indicative of us not understanding competition as well as we need to, because a lot of people think politics is about the forum. It's about the rhetorical discourse. It's about getting ideas out there, yada, yada, yada. Okay? No.
Yeah.
No. It's a competition. It's a contest of wills, especially now more than ever.
Yeah. No. Exactly. I mean, with how prominent like the biggest sport in America is football, like it's. I mean, even a lot of people watch football. Like hands down. Like there's no getting around that. So, um, by not utilizing the medium and like I guess weaponizing it in a way to appeal to I guess other leftists who because ultimately what it comes down to is a lot of the left is not about competition. Like it's inherent within leftist like ideologies, like just
To
resistance
not
to
compete,
yeah like
a reluctance to compete.
exactly a reluctance to compete because that's all capitalism is. That's like capitalism 101. Like
Right.
it's the profit motive. Getting the edge on other companies and whatnot. It's so it makes sense that a lot of lefties and progressives are just not opening to that kind of messaging. But like I say tough shit because that's it's part of it's blood sports. That's the nature of politics. It's like a sport, and learning this and realizing it is I think a very worthwhile cause like going forward.
All right, well, while we're waiting for Gavin to get online, why don't we talk about some current events really quick? I was pleased to see Columbia Law School as well as
Hmm.
Macklemore and I guess John Oliver all came out in support of the protesters, the student protesters. I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's kind of one of those sandcastle type of PR moves here that once it starts to crumble, it's going to crumble. It's going to
Yeah.
take some time maybe. Maybe it's well built, but it's going to crumble here. History, the truth wins in a world where modern media like ours exists. I mean, you can't ignore these videos, these ridiculously graphic, horrible videos that are coming out. I can tolerate pretty much anything,
Hmm.
but like seeing kids, it's
Getting
really
brutalized.
dark.
Yeah.
I mean, just evil. It's just like people say. I mean, I go back to my Christian roots. Hell is a place on earth.
Yeah.
Hell is a
Yeah.
place on earth. And right now, hell is Rafa or it's about to be Rafa.
Yeah, yeah. And you have Biden out there saying, peaceful protests, like, that's okay, but violent protests, that's not okay. When protesting gets violent, that's not okay. Okay, so like if you need to be like, I think it even went on to say like we won't tolerate violent protests, and you should, like should be punished or something like that. It's the police that are escalating. For one, it is the police that are instigating and making things violent. They are the aggressors.
But they wear a uniform, dude. But they wear
Yeah.
a uniform.
Yeah, so it's
And
like,
according to my and according to conservatives, if you wear a uniform, you can't be wrong.
yeah, he's like, if you protest and if you're violent, you'll be arrested. It, who actually is like starting who's starting shit? Who's initiating shit and getting arrested for it? Is it the police? Because
Well, I mean,
come on.
don't forget that movie. Don't forget the movie Don't Look Up, man. It's like people
Yeah.
see what they want to see. People don't see what they don't want to see. They brought a huge thing of
Yep.
chains in on Morning Joe and said, "This is what." I'm actually going to pause there because we got our guest is ready to go.
Cool.
Gavin from the Vanguard. Welcome to the party, my man.
What up?
is good? How
How's
are
it
you?
going? What up,
Yo.
dude? How's it going?
Thanks for making it, my man. I really appreciate it. You have you met my friend Stateless Patriot here before?
I don't believe so. I think you let me know about him, but first time meeting. What's up, man? What's your name, or is it not public?
You can just call me SP. Like, honestly.
Sweet.
Yeah. It's nice to meet you. It's great to have you on.
I go with Stat Pat. I think Stat Pat is sexy. That's just me. I'm in marketing.
I kind of like that too. Yeah, I like how you enter with a nice like
Yeah, dude.
weed hit, like or a bong rip, or I don't even know what that was, but coming in with style, I appreciate that. Cool.
Actually, this is just my nicotine. I hate to break the
Okay.
the illusion. Yeah, we got the same shit, bro. This is the geek bar. But after this, I will be getting stoned. But I am a
Oh, yeah.
professional, so I
Oh,
waited.
nice.
I waited to get stoned.
Is that a change of pace for you? Because I know that you guys used to get stoned before live streams, but not anymore. Are you working, man?
Unless it's like a specific vibe where it's like, a 420 live stream or whatever, I generally try not to get high. Maybe there was a few times like back in the early days of the Vanguard where I would get blasted before a show, but generally I do not do nearly as well on air if I'm
I know you got to
if
think
I'm-
quick come up with stats and like
Yeah,
data
yeah.
points and little stories.
I'm a
and
little
stuff
bit
and
better
listening.
at streaming like with some alcohol. Yeah, but weed just kind of, I don't know. Weed intensifies my sort of social anxieties and stuff.
That's exactly.
You know
how
what I'm
I
saying?
am.
Is it
Yeah,
legal in
yeah.
Missouri?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
sweet.
Yeah, it has
But
been
not
for almost
Kansas.
a year.
But
Not Kansas.
Not Kansas.
Yep.
Wow,
Wait,
Missouri.
Missourians go to Kansas to get their abortions, and the Kansans come to Missouri to get the weed.
That's wild.
It's I mean, it's just the backbone of America, man. That part of the country. That is just a fantastic. I'm glad I finally know someone from that part of the country. Actually, it's not true.
Yeah.
I went to school in the South, so I know quite a few people from all over the South, including like St. Louis and stuff like that. But not really, no one in Kansas City. So we're gonna be talking with Gavin about sports culture and why the left is not into it, mainly because I have come on your show and you have been something of a little bit of a guinea pig now with becoming a Kansas City Chiefs fan amidst their glory. It must be nice. This reminds me of when I was a Patriots fan back in when I was like 15. They started getting good. And then Brady and Belichick came along, whole 9 yards. The rest is history.
Were they no
But
good
you have-
before that?
They went to a Super Bowl and lost, and then they did one in the 80s. They went to a Super Bowl and got smoked. But no, they were a joke in the league. They were equivalent to the Browns in the league pretty much right now.
Wow.
So, yeah, so the Chiefs, man. But you've got, tell the audience a little bit about your growth as a sports fan, because you represent the target for me. You're like someone who is socially responsible to your citizenship because you're doing your own homework, but was like, okay, sports is cool, but it's not like it's not my thing. But now that you got a good team, obviously it's a little easier to be a better sports fan. But tell us about what the last 18, 24 months have been of your sports fandom.
Yeah, I mean, last 18, 24 months, I guess, has been pretty occupied just with the last, couple of, NFL seasons, Chiefs taking home the Super Bowl both times. So, it's been super exciting. This time I was in KC for the night of the Super Bowl. Last year, I was actually in New Orleans, where I was living at the time with my partner. But yeah, I mean, it's been super exciting. Like you referenced, wasn't a huge sports fan growing up. I think mostly not really due to any like personal issue I had with sports or lack of interest necessarily. I think it was more just kind of like a household culture. My parents are not big sports people at all. They're more academic, intellectual types. I think even when I was growing up, my parents kind of had a, not a negative attitude towards sports, but they were kind of like, what is this bread and circus kind of bullshit, that sort of a attitude. But I do remember as a child, I was really, interested in like basketball. Like I would always root for the Jayhawks. My parents both went to KU.
Yeah.
I always
Hell of a
loved
tradition.
Yeah, exactly. My parents met at KU, and despite their attitude towards sports, they were fans of the Jayhawks. So I grew up being into that. I remember when the Jayhawks won the tournament in like 2008. That was a big year to be a Kansan, obviously. So the interest was there. It had always kind of been there. I remember getting into stuff like that, but just over the years, other things took over. My interest in politics and film, etc. But when the Chiefs really started doing well, that was around the time that they signed Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback. It's almost impossible not to get into it if you live in the city where the team is doing as well as the Chiefs have been doing. I mean, it's just infectious. You go out, people are excited about it. In every shop and bar, there's posters. The St. Patrick posters with Patrick Mahomes and stuff like that. All the enthusiasm and passion from the community, and just seeing people come together over it is one thing. That's a drug in and of itself. But then, as you start actually paying attention and watching the sport of football, as I have over the last 3-4 years, you realize that in and of itself is also quite the thrill, the tension, the suspense.
It's complex. It's a complex game.
Yeah.
Yep, and the more that I come to understand the complexities, the more I appreciate the sport as a whole. Something that also held me back, I feel like, in the early days from really fully appreciating it, because I was like, I don't even know what the hell is going on. It's just a bunch of dudes running at each other, essentially. But when you start to understand the complexities of what's actually going on, yeah, I mean, athletic achievement, athletic excellence, it's inspiring. It's beautiful. It's something that is, it's hard to put a finger on the emotion that it inspires, but it definitely inspires emotion. So, yeah, being from Kansas City, having that local kind of vibe and that pride, it combined with the realization that this is actually a pretty fun sport to watch. It's definitely made me a bit of a sports fan, although I definitely probably wouldn't be on your guys' level.
The Chiefs
Go ahead,
have
Pat.
the Chiefs have beaten the Niners twice in the Super Bowl, right? Yeah, I'm still
Yeah,
kinda,
they've won 3 of the last
salty
5
about
Super
that.
Bowls and beat the Niners. First and last. Yeah, that's right.
Real salty about that. Yeah, it's interesting you bring up. Yeah, it elicits a certain feeling. It's unique. There's something about like the excitement and intensity of football. Like even if because my team's the Niners, they've been in 2 Super Bowls like my adult life, and even if they're not playing, just the intensity and excitement of a normal Super Bowl, which is like the game I always make sure to watch, because like I do keep up during like the regular season and whatnot, but it's that kind of unexplainable feeling that you mentioned that I really wish we could channel into politics. And because I met Dieter last year, and we were kind of on the same page about this. Like a lot of the left really needs to learn a lot from just I guess the glory aspect of football, because it's all about winning. It's all about outmatching your competition. It's about being out the competition, having the right plays, having the right players, making the right moves. It's in agility, all that, all like that kind of mindset. I think can be I think should be worked into a lot of politics nowadays, and when it comes to putting progressive ideas forward, the right kind of representatives, and just this mindset of winning. Because we were just talking before you came on, the fact that like a lot of leftists like ourselves are not really into competition, so to speak. Like that's kind of like not really our niche. That's a capitalistic niche. But the reality is, football, sports in general, is very, very popular. A lot of people look at politics like it's a sport. So, I think
Yes.
teaching progressives and leftists about that, and learning from it can go a long way.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Just to pick up on that, it's been, I think, one of the main reasons that I did get into politics. When I did it, it almost for me was like my version of sports. I almost was looking to politics in the way that a lot of people look towards sports. The difference, I guess, being that with politics, the consequences of what happens is a lot more, grave. If the wrong team wins, there's actually
Yeah,
consequences, unlike
real life
within sports where it's
consequences.
just
Yeah,
kind of a bummer, right? Right,
yeah,
but like I remember, in the even in the early stages of my life, I would just be fascinated by the horse race aspect of politics, and rooting for my team, which was of course the Democratic Party at the time in like 2008 and stuff. When I was, just like, oh, go Obama. I got that same kind of rush that people get when they watch the Super Bowl. And you're watching CNN and the votes are coming in, and you have that sort of like that competition thing comes out. You're like, I hope my team wins. I hope
it's a similar
that team
feeling.
fucking loses, and you get that shit. And I feel like a lot of people, they do get into politics for that reason. What we need to work on is making sure that they don't just care about the horse race of it all,
Right.
and that they actually do care about getting the right ideas implemented, and not just celebrating a meaningless win if it doesn't actually signify anything as far as the political implications of the policy that will be passed, and the whatever. So I think that there's a lot of that, and in fact, it's something I've talked with my grandfather, who was a Democratic state representative in the state of Missouri in the 1960s, and he's a huge sports fan, a huge Chiefs fan, and a huge fan of the Missouri Tigers. And we've talked a lot about that because he's a Democrat, a total lib through and through. He's a huge MSNBC watcher these days, but he also, shares that enthusiasm, and kind of looks at politics as if it's a sport in and of itself. You root for your team, and you have that addictive sort of thrill when it's election night. That's half the fun.
So I just wanted to say that I think you're a couple degrees steps ahead of the metaphor stateless patriot, because at a very basic level, I just want sports to be kind of the you're talking about emotions. There's an emotional hurdle that a lot of lefties need to get over with respect to competition, right? Like they don't like it for whatever reason, not even judging, just that's the result of their personality. They don't like competition. Well, guess what? Politics is a competition. I hear a lot of lefty commentators, both mainstream and independent, that talk about, oh, this isn't the way it should be. This isn't the way it should be. Well, it's the way it is. It's the way it is. Sorry. The big transition that Trump era represents is that all politics is local. Nuh-uh, not anymore. Kyle Kalinske talks about this. All politics is national now. Now it's you're either with Trump trash or you're with America to a lot of folks. And we just have to accept that. Now, I think the burden is on the neoliberals to come up with effective policy that's going to create long-term success. We are not going to find out if that actually has a chance until this November, and then again 4 years after that, really. I mean, I'm managing expectations. I'm thinking, 2030s. But I have a question for you guys. Do you think, if given the choice, if you asked anybody on the left or neoliberal, progressive, whatever, would you rather win a race, or would you rather knock a bully on his ass? Which one do you think they would choose?
I mean, in the case, do you mean the bully in the electoral sense? Because I feel like winning would kind of be.
I just mean the experience. So we talk about, so lefties are like actually reflective people, unlike conservatives. So we go to watch a movie and we talk about it afterwards and like say, what does that signify? What does that remind you of? Yada, 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 right? So in terms of the experience, like, I don't think winners and losers. I think if you've had the experience of winning, then you're a winner. Like, you know what it feels like to win. If you never compete, then you're neither a winner nor a loser, whatever. If you never win, you're a loser. So if you had a version of winning, if you had an experience of winning, would you rather have it be winning like a foot race with your friends, or would you rather have it be knocking the bully on his ass? This is what I'm talking about with like political marketing. These are the kinds of questions that marketing executives ask about their consumers, because you're trying to understand the behavior and why they do what they do. So if we're going to,
I guess I would say knocking a bully on his ass. Then it seems like most Democrats, at least, are more concerned with just kind of punishing Trump than they are about actually making their ideas popular, convincing a lot of Americans that they're right.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're not even doing that well. Is kind of my point. They're not really knocking the bully. They're kind of like pushing back. They're pushing the bully back, but they're not knocking him on his ass. I mean, the fact that these polls are so close suggests that they're not doing well enough. I mean, how is this race even close? And the answer is Biden's age and obviously the Genocide Joe stuff that is going on. Question for you, Gavin. Have you watched the Apple TV Plus documentary, The Dynasty, about the Patriots?
Nope.
So this is one way that I'm probably gonna do a video on this. I know that the Patriots are like very problematic. It's tough for me being as far left as I am and having Kraft, Brady, and Belichick all be in bed with Trump, although Brady's kind of out of
Aren't most of the football ownerships, though, like, aren't they all pretty much like right-wing billionaires and stuff?
The owners are just sociopathic billionaires. Yeah. They only care about their bottom line. They have lost touch with reality. Pat and I did a reaction video to like levels of wealth, and the whole time I was like, once you get to 30 million, dude, you better have a therapist. Otherwise, your concept of reality is going to be out the damn window. No one, it's like that saying, everyone's got a price. Well, everyone's got a price on their sanity and their ability to empathize with others, and superlative wealth robs people of that skill.
Yeah.
Check. I would encourage. Go ahead.
Yeah. Not to mention just the overwhelming power that these owners have as well. It's like you can see news stories say, like, I think even the Buffalo Bills stadium or something like that, the city or the state is investing like hundreds of millions of dollars into like either upgrading it or updating it, and in order to do so, they're cutting into the budget that actually that goes into funding for social programs and housing, something like that. And
of course,
it's like that really wouldn't even be possible if they weren't if the local and state government wasn't being lobbied by the big money football interests, and that includes these owners.
Yeah, so true.
So the Dynasty on Apple TV Plus, I would encourage you to check it out because it's a fascinating case study in different kinds of winners. All right, like this is the problem with the left is we don't define our terms, right? And a lot of things, problem with America in general, we just say something, confirmation bias. Oh, okay. Darvo, like these buzzwords we don't really think about. Even just basic stuff like what constitutes a winner, what's a winner's attitude. Like, for example, the left has a problem with saying, I'm going to do the best I can, versus what a winner says is, I'm going to train and work so hard that I'm going to beat my opponent so badly he regrets showing up for the fight. Like, that's the difference. That's the difference. I mean, I'm so... Do you see any hope for this approach? I mean, I just don't want to say the left is soft, Gavin, but I mean, we've talked about it offline. I want to knock these motherfuckers in the face, and we keep trying to like rise above, and it's good enough now, but is it going to be good enough long term? I mean, I want to kill the GOP.
Yeah, dude, I feel you, bro. And it's an issue I've had not just with the left, but with the liberal left as well. I mean, you talked about like Joe Biden's age being an issue as far as like defeating Donald Trump and the Genocide Joe stuff. But let's not forget Hillary Clinton also lost to Donald Trump in embarrassing fashion. I mean, she won the popular vote, but we don't actually live in a democracy, so it doesn't matter. Right. Like I've always thought it was fucking crazy that the Democrats couldn't articulate a better attack against the MAGA right and against Donald Trump in general. I'm like, this is the easiest candidate in the history of candidates to attack on a million different fronts.
Yeah.
Pick one. Any aspect of his life, his romantic life, his family life, his financial life. Every single thing about this guy is so easy to attack, and somehow they fuck it all up by somehow appearing to be even more elitist than the personification of American capitalism and elitism. It's genuinely mind-blowing that they fuck themselves up so bad, but it's not even just the liberals, because the left can't do to the liberals what the liberals need to do to the right wing. Bernie Sanders couldn't take out the friggin' knife and shiv Biden when he needed to at the last minute when they were on that debate stage together, and he had to show the American people that he was clearly the superior alternative, not just to lead the country, but to defeat Donald Trump. He was unable to do that. He was feckless. It was pathetic. And I was a huge Bernie fan, but it was embarrassing. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is our moment, and you just bungled it over and over again. So yeah, it's really frustrating, and obviously it's easy to sit here as a commentator and be like, why aren't you more aggressive? Why aren't you more perfect and all that stuff? Especially when to be fair, the Democratic candidates really have to court the most elderly possible voting demographic. That is the majority of the people that vote Democratic, and they are more easily, I suppose, turned off by intensely aggressive and like revolutionary rhetoric and all that stuff. So I get it. They have to contend with that. They have to temper their message to appeal to all of these more sensitive voters that are more concerned with like civility politics and stuff. But yeah, it's really frustrating.
Yeah, if anything, like the Democratic Party has not really been exposed to or is willing to expose their base to more populist ideals, and that was a big reason why Trump was able to get away with so much. That's why he was able to come away with the 2016 election, is because the Democrats didn't know how to counter populist messaging, even if it was fake. I mean, that's why Trump got away with so much. He was an outsider in a sense. He wasn't part of the political machine of the duopoly, so to speak, and so he was able to tap in to the working class grievances left over from the Obama era and weaponize that, and that's how he got away with it. And the Democrats had no fucking clue how to do so, because they didn't bother listening to Bernie, who would have been a big help. So that frustration is still lingering today, and there have been little tweaks and improvements here and there, but unless the Democratic Party becomes a lot more aggressive in that messaging and actually championing big progressive accomplishments and victories, like the NLRB is actually it's the best it's been in decades, we're not going to see much of a momentum shift, because the Democratic Party doesn't know how to play offense. They only know how to play defense. They're not going to go out there and say, "Oh, look what we did here and there." I don't, for the life of me, understand why.
Question for you. By the way, the reason why he's appealing to lower, rural uneducated whites as a white guy, or as a rich guy who can speak to them, is because he's a white trash version of a rich man. The gaudy gold everywhere. Yeah. It's exactly how someone who shops at Walmart and only shops at Walmart would decorate their home if they were just handed $100 million. So
that's so true with the gold toilet and the I love hot dogs and cheeseburgers and all that. Yeah, people
with money don't have homes like that. People with money, white people. I can't talk about other rich people, but rich white people in general, it's low key, flat colors, very
understated.
A lot of it's not. The house is enormous, and that says it all. Right? You don't need to have everything be a diamond inside once you walk in. They are driving up to the house. They're going to know you're loaded. You don't need to show off once they get inside. That's the WASP tradition anyway.
Yeah, no sense of style at all. No sense of personality. Just, I'm rich.
To use the sports metaphor, Gavin, playing off of what you're saying about how we don't live in a real democracy, this is one of the rhetorical things I would do if we could make this metaphor work, is we need to win the Super Bowl by 2 touchdowns or more, because it's not good enough to just win the White House. We got to win the White House and both houses of Congress, and then we got to pack the court. And I don't want to hear any more shit about, oh, packing the court. Are you sure we should? Yeah, I know we should. I don't want to hear any more of these arguments. I mean, at some point, I say, like, with Trump trash, with MAGA America, I don't take this. I grew up with a Christian household. I don't believe in forgiveness at some point on a citizen-to-citizen level. Maybe on a personal level, forgiveness makes sense. But when it comes to citizen, I think the motto towards MAGA should be for the rest of time: never forgive, never forget, and never respect. Do you respect a child throwing a temper tantrum? Because that's what they are, intellectually speaking. I mean, tell me I'm
But
wrong.
even worse, because their brains are fully developed, unlike a
Right.
child.
There's no excuse. Right. There's actually no excuse for them.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, by the way, on the court packing thing. Liberals are such fucking pussies when they run away from the issue. What they should do is remind everyone of the fact that who is consistently voted as one of the top 5 greatest American presidents of all time, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, tried to do the same exact shit.
Right.
And it's exactly how he got his agenda passed. It's exactly how he got his agenda passed, by threatening those fucking bastards. They're elitist fucking asses. You know what I'm saying? We're going to make you irrelevant unless you do what the people demand. That's what Democrats should say.
Yeah, it's funny how even Bernie brought that up, like has brought that up a couple times. Like hey, this is what FDR did, like in order to like his agenda passed and whatnot.
Yep.
Like why can't we be that aggressive? It's just like Bernie, you folded.
Yeah.
Come on, like you've had your chances to be aggressive and whatnot, and it's like it's a moot point at this point, I mean, you're not wrong. Like that, it's still a worthwhile thing to pursue. But like you definitely you need the voices. You need the willpower, and you need to win the argument, and you need to be relentless about it. Never shut up. Never stop talking about it. Only then will things change.
Yep. And don't give into their framing. Like
exactly.
Yeah, and don't give into their framing. Like when they try to act like, suggesting that the expansion of the Supreme Court is in somehow analogous to like what Donald Trump did with his, attempt to destroy our democracy. You don't accept that framing. Be like, no, it's literally not the same thing. There's historical precedent for this, and in fact, arguably the greatest American president of the 20th century tried to do it as well. Like it's not that hard,
Yeah. Exactly.
Right-wing America's ability to use cultural assumptions to peddle ignorance is historically good. They're so good at it. And it's a statement about our education system, I think, more than anything else, because these rural areas, I'm sorry, they just don't know any better. They haven't seen Muslim or black or Latino Americans. They haven't had relationships with these people, so of course they're afraid of them when they hear about them.
I grew up
and they're lonely people. I don't agree with this ever. The loner personality. I got a few loners in my life that I can't get rid of. I swear to God, I'm done with that personality type. No one's a loner and actually happy. You need some kind of human interaction. You do, and these people just don't get it. Like their lifestyle, it sucks. And the only people that they see if they're not working the farm is the people. Even if they are working the farm, is the people that they see at work every day. And then they go to the fucking local watering hole on the weekends.
Do you mean people that like really take pride in the fact that they don't have friends or something? Like,
yeah. It's the part of the gun culture is where I'm going with that one. Really, that's what scares the hell of me is because all these gun nuts they're all conservative and they're all loner personalities.
Yeah, we've talked about before, like isolated communities in general.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any experience seeing the outside world. These people come from small towns with less than 10,000 people, and they have no, they don't have really any idea what, say, the big city is like where there's just like it's just teeming with diversity. It's like. Because it's a tense place. Like if you ever been to a big city, if you're not paying attention, like you can get yourself in trouble or get hurt or what have you. And it's like those like people are molded by the city. You see something different every single day. There's always something new to experience that is completely foreign to a lot of these rural GOP
Oh,
types.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, even just growing up in the suburbs of Kansas City, I remember some suburbanites talking about Kansas City like it was some,
Yeah.
terrifying place. I'm like, bro, like you got to chill. Like Kansas City's, first of all, not even that big of a city, and
Yeah.
despite the statistics, as far as homicides and all that go, like unless you're just in a really bad neighborhood, you're gonna be fine. Like there's no reason. I've never really felt unsafe in Kansas City, and I've been all over this motherfucker. Like, but yeah, I definitely know what you're saying. People that are not from the cities, they definitely have those perspectives.
And with experience, you gain more knowledge. The more people and personalities that you interact with, like the more knowledge there is to gain. The more you understand the world, you come to realize, oh, people are a lot more similar than the news or like media gives them credit for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
All right, so back to the sports metaphor. Actually, let me think about this. Did you have anything, Stat?
No, I
'Cause I know Gavin's got to go soon.
I have a little piece to that.
I got like
I forget.
20 minutes left. It's all good. No
Oh,
rush.
okay. Oh, okay. No, here's the good news. Now, here's what I wanted to say. Sorry. So I have come to love this cliche from Karl Marx. History repeats itself. Everybody knows that part. First as a tragedy, second as a farce. Okay. Now we got the Civil War, civil rights. Now War of MAGA America. Okay, that's what I think the three is. The first was fought by soldiers. The second was fought by citizens. The third will be fought by politicians.
Mm.
So that gives me hope.
Yeah.
That gives me hope because it is a farce and politics are a farce and it's all for show, and the shit that actually matters and what gets policy passed has very little to do with the problem it's trying to solve. And that's why this naivete from the left, where we think it's going to be this productive intellectual conversation, has got to just get out the window. And we want to be the party of inclusion, but I think we have to exclude this notion that it matters terribly how we accomplish our goals. You know what I mean? Like people get obsessed with the way, like, oh yeah, I want to win, but I don't want to win that way. It's like, well, aside from being impolite, I really don't see a reason not to start calling stupid. I mean, you talk to, like, I have a friend of mine's mother who happens to be black, who's just like the most real woman I've ever met. When Trump stuff, she and I talk politics, and she only said, you can't fix stupid. She just simplified. Like, she doesn't even think about it. She's like, they're just stupid people. I can't deal with them. And she's lived a really busy life. She's a social worker, seen a lot of shit. She just doesn't have time. She compartmentalizes. And I think we need to tap into the white people that, the white suburban moms who, that's what everyone says, right? In terms of the demographic that decides elections. It's like the suburbs of Atlanta, the suburbs of Detroit, are those white women showing up? That seems to be what decides national elections in these days. Does anyone else have any political calculus on that?
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I guess my only pushback would be, like, while I agree a certain amount of the population you just have to write off as fucking stupid, that's definitely true, they still vote. Like, how do you contend with that? Like, if they're just stupid and they're going to vote for the stupid choice, then what do you do about that?
Well, you got to vote them out of the way. I mean, so traditional political strategy works backwards from likely voters. And Democratic Party, both sides, their primary voters are very old. So that's why their media messaging is for the centrists, is very centrist. Democratic Party I'm talking about now. Whereas if they got more aggressive, if they went farther left like we would like them to, they might upset the traditional Democratic Party primary voter. So it's like a sports metaphor is like, we don't vote once every even year, we vote twice, right? That the left needs to get into that mentality. It's a 1-2 punch on even years, Like people have to get that through their head until younger people start voting in primaries in early states. Like we're just not going to get the pace of change. It's basic arithmetic. We need huge change yesterday. Just look at the environment. Look at healthcare.
So you're just saying that more of us need to turn out rather than trying to convince any of the segment of the population that's inconvincible.
Participation is the goal, not necessarily persuasion, right? So those like the neocons, the anti-Trump conservatives that are still voting Republican, they're still voting Republican. They're not going to get off. Maybe in a state like California, you could get them to vote in the Democratic Party because it's one of those freaky states like that. But by and large, those people are in the way as well. So it's kind of a deviation from traditional political thinking where you're working backwards from likely voters. You're trying to get more first-time voters than ever. You're going for a paradigm shift. And I think the extremity of America's current circumstances justifies a paradigm shift. It's like desperate times call for desperate measures. So maybe is the youth vote, am I naive here? In the next 3 cycles, is the youth vote ever actually going to show up? I think it kind of has to, right?
I mean, I hope so, but I think that unfortunately certain politicians, Bernie Sanders included, have kind of tried that playbook where they were relying on the younger and more progressive generations to support them and kind of get them to victory, but they learned the hard lesson that, like, in fact, the expected demographics are the expected demographics for a reason, that the boomers in particular are going to be the ones that really drive the victory of any given candidate, and that for that reason you sort of have to try to appeal to them. I think that's part of the lesson that, you know, a lot of progressives in the Bernie wave learned, that like you unfortunately just cannot rely on that youth demographic to turn out and carry you. But I mean, do you have any ideas for like how we could inspire that? Like what shortcomings of the Bernie movement you think you could point to and improve upon?
Absolutely. I think I talk about it on the podcast or on the show. It's policy, we know, that's the easy one. Politics we'll get better at. Political marketing is where the growth really needs to be. And that, I think, is about casting. We're talking about Jasmine Crockett and AOC and like new women and camera-friendly people of color who are good on a microphone. I mean, they have a recruiting system. I know someone who got recruited for the LA City Council. So they have a recruiting system in place. I'm just not impressed with who they're recruiting. You know, like Swalwell. So a clear product of the system. Like right there. Eric Swalwell. Like, just, you know, I can't get over how mediocre of a political athlete he is. And he should be our future. Like, guy like that. You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's talent scouting.
Yeah, and another big issue is when the waters have been muddied like so much the past several years with the notion that well like, what's the point of voting anyway? Like it's not going to matter, or the progressives are just going to bend over for the Democrats anyway. I don't buy that at all. Like it's a lot more, and that's looking at it from just voting federally rather than down ballot races, which I think is like really, really crucially important. And even in it, convincing younger voters that they would need to get involved really does come down to political marketing and convincing them like they really are voting like for their future, because all the Republican Party has to do is like just convince the ignorant that they're fighting for this just noble cause, that because like the Democratic Party is full of communists that want to like destroy society and stuff like that. All it takes for them is fear. But like people who rather vote Democrat, like they're smarter than that. It's and now we're left with like we need it's hard to say.
One thing I will say about the conservative mindset that you're saying here, StatPat, real quick, just putting it in other words, is it's easier to get a conservative to defend, to get worried about what they have, keeping what they have, as opposed to acquiring more somewhere are different. Familiarity is comfort is more important than actual
Yeah.
happiness. So
Yeah.
like fear, but just more in specific terms. That's how I would
Yeah,
think about
I
it.
think there's a lot of truth to that. What do you guys think about like, when it comes to recruiting? I feel like the sort of model up until this point has been, as you mentioned, recruiting like younger activists, people like AOC, stuff like that. But I'm kind of getting concerned that what people really want is someone that's a little bit more like Bernie Sanders, and that the quality that really excited people about Bernie was that he had been at it for a while. They trusted him. They felt that he was being honest, and even if they didn't agree with his policy prescriptions necessarily, they, generally got a sense that he was uncorrupted. And that's
Sure.
why I feel like, one of the people that is the most exciting for a potential, future progressive movement leader is someone like Sean Fain of the UAW.
Right.
They're
We
not
talked a lot about him,
necessarily
yeah.
Yeah. I
they're not
love that
necessarily
guy.
the most like
Yes.
sexy or trained in a media sense. They're not like a freaking CNN host or whatever, but people do get the sense when they listen to that guy that he's one of them. He's a working person, an honest
Bingo.
guy that they can trust his instincts and all that kind of stuff. Do you think that that's a decent model as well?
I completely agree.
I think. Yeah, I think so for sure. I would say, just to be, put on my marketing hat, and I'm guessing here, I'm not completely sure about this, but if it is a straight white man, the aesthetic requirement isn't as high. So
True.
So
That might
Sean
be
Fain's, we talked about him. I was on the Humanist Reports Zoom call of the month last Friday, and people brought him up, and he's fantastic. I love it. He'd be a great leader, but another straight white guy as the figurehead. There should have been an anointing. Like, Bernie is not just to blame for his weakness here at the end, but also for not setting us up for the future and kind of grooming someone of his own ilk, as opposed to someone that was going to come through the DNC recruiting system. Because that's AOC, make no mistake, although she is progressive, she was recruited to run for office.
Oh yeah, I know.
Well, yeah, blind spot of his tended to be like not. I mean, because ultimately his thing was like it's not me, it's us, pointing to the youth of America. But ultimately, you need figureheads. You need people who know the game, who can.
You need a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. You need a team. You need your star players. You need your athletes. Like, ultimately, like having a political movement is one thing, but actually having leaders that can champion the movement and the message and the policies and whatnot, that's a whole other thing. And like I agree with Dieter. Like that's something I feel like Bernie Sanders didn't really wasn't really successful in doing, because he needs successors. Like we were just talking about, like with Sean Fain or who was it, like Jessica Crockett, Jasmine Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett, yeah.
Yeah.
Although she took some money from some crypto, she took some crypto money that we're a little
we
concerned
talked
about. We have to do
about
some
that,
more
yeah.
digging on.
Yeah, but like I completely agree. Someone has to be established. Like Bernie's his message was from the bottom up. So it would need to be people who make a name for themselves from the bottom up, from local positions, be it like the state senate, like Nina Turner was, or someone who was a mayor, or a city councilman, or assembly person, or something like that, and someone who actively works their way up but is consistent and isn't bought up by big money, because that's a big reason why like little schmucks like Adam Schiff were successful in their senatorial campaign, because he was backed by a motherfucking shitload of money. And so with that, he was able to buy ads. So like every other damn ad I saw on Instagram was Adam Schiff for his stupid ass campaign. So
What
like
was his? It was actually his competition. He was spending ads promoting his Republican challenger
too.
so that he would get second in the primary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That as well.
Gavin, I know you got to run soon. Do you have anything else you want to touch on before you go?
I mean, if you have any like final questions or anything, feel free to hit me with them. I don't really have much to conclude with, but I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Let me see.
I got a question for you.
So we talked. I did. Oh yeah, let's hear
go
it,
for
Stat.
So is that a BoJack Horseman tattoo on your arm?
It is, yeah.
I absolutely love that show. I
Oh
think
yeah, we
that-
don't see that. We don't see that on your live streams. We don't see that.
That's
That's funny.
Yeah,
really
I got
cool.
that drunkenly. Actually, Zach kind of half convinced me to get
No
it, but
way.
I don't regret it. I'm a
That's
huge fan
awesome.
of BoJack.
Yeah, me too. That's one of the best shows I've ever seen. I think everybody should watch it. That's hella cool, dude. I'm actually considering. Okay, hold on. I got something to show you.
Hell yeah. You ever see BoJack Horseman, Dieter?
I have seen the pilot and I really liked it. I really liked it, but I
You
just
gotta keep watching. It gets
I'll get
really
back into
good.
it.
It gets
All right, right
really
on.
good.
I'll check it out for sure.
I'm just.
Oh, did you see the roast of Tom Brady, by the way? Oh my God.
I'm
Oh my God, look at that.
That's hilarious.
I'm considering doing a BoJack Horseman cosplay for a convention in a couple of weeks. That's how.
Oh, dude, you hella should. You hella should. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, it's good to meet a fellow BoJack fan. It's one of those shows, man. For some reason, I just got so into that shit when it was live, and then I don't know, it got
It's
so
so
dark
good.
towards like season 4, 5, 6. Like, I think I got this tattoo after the 3rd season,
Okay.
and that's my favorite season of the show.
Yeah.
The 3rd season, I almost think it could have ended honestly at the season finale of season 3. Not that I don't like what came after, but it got so fucking dark after that. I was like, Jesus
did.
Christ.
It's easily one of the deepest shows I've ever seen for sure. It's so well written. Like honestly, that like
Yeah.
fucking great tattoo.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that.
Of course, yeah.
All right. Well, it's been fun, man. I mean, we just got all I got is other stuff is news. I mean, like I'm trying to think about other stuff I wanted to say about the sports, but I think we kind of covered everything. Stat Pat, you got anything else you want to touch on with the sports metaphor? I mean, let's win, baby. Just win.
Yeah.
It's like, get used to the paradigm. I mean, I know. Oh, the different kinds of winners thing actually is kind of interesting because, everybody knows Tom Brady's kind of like a pretty nice guy. And then you got Bill Belichick who's the exact opposite, quiet asshole. And then, and then you get to know these teams and you realize that winners come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors. But according to conservatives, you got to be a bully to be a winner. That's what they kind of do is they equate bullying and winning.
It's
That's simple.
it's the unapologetic attitude, honestly. Like, just being all about what you believe in. Like honestly, business. Who Murph? Who's that? Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea. Someone who knows me, I think.
I do totally agree with that, and it pains me to say it. I'll say it again. I really do wish that more progressives kind of followed in the footsteps of John Federman while he was campaigning.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, I was literally.
what was that, bro?
I was literally just thinking about him when Dieter mentioned that. Like, yeah, it's like he ran such a
Yeah.
good campaign and like got everybody so excited, and then
Yep.
I don't know if it was his stroke or what, but like he just completely.
I think it was, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I think it was his fucking stroke, dude. There's no other explanation. And I don't want to just like say that all progressives need to be some big like burly ass like cop esque
He made it
white
work.
dude. That's not what I'm saying.
yeah,
He did make it work, but I'm just saying it's that is transferable to any other type of person. John Fetterman has a specific vibe, but anyone who is, themselves and is kind of fearlessly channeling that like working class vibe and that aggression towards the establishment, you're gonna do well. And you don't have to be some big oafish white dude that looks like
Right.
a police
Yeah,
officer. Like I
yeah.
said, he had that thing going. There's other types of progressives, but what you really need is that fearless, like, I don't give a shit. Fuck the
Yeah.
establishment. Fuck the opponent. I'm the correct person in this race. I'm speaking for the people.
That's it.
Progressivism is populism.
That's it.
What the movement means. Yeah.
It's unapologetic,
And-
like fury, like completely agree, like and own it, own your shit. Like if someone comes at it with like a jab at you, oh well, you're like this, you carry yourself like this. It's just like, yeah, I do. So fucking what? I got the people on my side. I'm right. I got the policies and everything. Like that's exactly the attitude that anybody running for any sort of office should bring. 100%.
Yep.
And they better use that energy to emphasize certain data points because there are just some statistics that are so egregious that we can't ignore.
Right.
You know, like I'm big on the sleeping giant issues of sibling abuse and obesity, for example, that we talk nothing about in our society. And we should be
Sibling
talking-
abuse? I
Yeah,
would like to
sibling.
unpack that with you. Luckily, me and my sister had a great relationship growing up, but that's interesting.
Yeah, sibling abuse is for real, man. It when you have an older sibling, it can be sister or brother, but you know, definitely in masculine households, it's probably a little bit more prolific.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, depending on circumstances, if there's a big age gap, or if you're stepbrother, stepsister, you know,
Yeah,
those
I
kinds
can
of-
only imagine that
there's
kind of
all
issues.
different- all
Yeah.
different kinds of variables. But basically, when no one's looking, that older sibling makes you feel like you're the problem. And that carries with it a lot of baggage into adult life.
I could see
And
that,
it's
yeah.
this- yeah, it's the dark devil that no one talks about in psychology for understandable reasons because the parent-child relationship is so much more fundamental. But we were talking about Stat Pat and I last 2 live streams ago. Someone talked about, or I mentioned intergenerational trauma and how the country, in a very macro sense, is actually still coping with the intergenerational trauma of World War II and the PTSD. And what I mean by that is that our parents, or at least my parents, who are boomers, okay, they grew up feeling a sense of debt, a sense of obligation to their parents for winning World War II. Now, they grew up, had kids, did really well, didn't have to fight a world war, did fight Vietnam, yada, 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 okay. Then they expected their kids to have the same attitude towards them. You owe us. That's actually narcissistic. When you look at your kids as extensions of yourself, that's narcissism. And as you and I have talked about, Gavin, American exceptionalism, because of modern day media over the last 20, 30 years, really, you could argue since 9/11, has become American narcissism. I don't even know that it ever wasn't. This idea that we're born, I mean, it's such a dangerous, like, that's a dangerous idea for a lefty to go after. But we need to. In order to intellectually deconstruct these problems and get objective about shit and get into the data, because that's where the solutions are, we need to deconstruct this idea of American exceptionalism. You want to be special, go earn it. Go do something special. That's a winner's attitude.
Yeah, you're not special.
You know,
just by
you're
being
not born
Facts.
as a snowflake.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good ass point. Yeah. I definitely think that's a conversation that we need to untangle when it comes to imperialism and like getting people to care about, you know, what's going on in Palestine and the rest of the world and all that kind of shit. So yeah, I definitely think you're onto something, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, man, destruction is a form of creation, right?
Oh yeah.
In that sense, it is. And intellectually, sometimes it is, right? We're
Yup.
at the center of the universe, all that kind of shit. Anyway, Stat Pat, you got anything else? I was maybe we could touch on sports gambling if you guys want. I know we disagree, Gavin, actually, on I think most lefties, I think most people in this country disagree with me with the proliferation of sports gambling. I'm worried about it. I know that intellectually it should be a freedom that's available, but just personal experience-wise, I've seen it ruin lives. And it can be very dangerous. Now, the fail-safe, I don't know if there is a fail-safe. I was going to say the fail-safe with online gambling was that you have a max on your credit card. So worst case scenario, you max out your credit card. You don't have a bookie coming to kick your ass. Now with you know, states legalizing it and having like casinos, arguably safer. So that's a good point for it, because you don't have to deal with the weird, sketchy, organized crime bookies. But that was kind of a thing of the past anyway. I'm just saying that people who think they know about sports don't know about sports. Like, it took me 15 years to figure out the NFL. And I still haven't figured it out. And it basically comes down to 6 weeks of predictability. There's 6 weeks in the season that you can really predict. Everything else, good luck.
Pretty
Yeah.
So I just think it's a dangerous game. But yes, if you have that attitude of I'm throwing $100 down to make this game more fun to watch, and I'm stopping there, and that's $100 that because my net worth is in the tens of thousands of dollars, that kind of thing, because I've got that much saved up, whatever. I don't know, whatever your financial benchmarks are, just don't fuck with those.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I totally agree that gambling is, in a sense, predatory, but so's all of capitalism.
Smoking, yeah.
Like you could, get drunk one night and stupidly bet $1,000 on a game, and you don't really know what you're doing, and you lose it all. You could also get on eBay and buy a fucking new purse, or something else that's stupid and that people all constantly do on impulse when they're inebriated or otherwise, maybe just doing something, feeling down, they want to have the endorphin rush of buying something like that. That happens all the time. So I feel like, in a sense, you're 100% right, but also, like, that's just kind of a capitalism problem.
Yeah, it's a free society. You have a free society, and people have the freedom to go do what they want as long as they're not hurting others.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you from personal experience, it's a dangerous game for people.
And there's a reason I'm not placing bets on that shit. I know better than that. Yeah, I'm not into that. I mean, it would be one thing, to bet like $10 with a friend or something like that might be fun, or $25 or something.
Well, I talked to you about it on your podcast briefly, but the idea is to have a season budget, and then you're like, okay, $500 the whole season.
Yeah.
So that makes you wait, which is always a good idea. You never want to bet the early part of the season anyway, and then you get to know teams. You start to like teams, like get to know their players, because you're not going to know the whole league. It's impossible. Unless it's your full-time job to know the whole league, it's impossible. So, like, lessons like that, I want to keep that up. I'm going to start maybe talking about that more come NFL season, but because I think there needs to be what we have in place for alcoholism, there needs to be in place for gambling addiction.
Cheers to that. Yeah. My girlfriend's trying to get me to take this shot on air, so I guess I'm going to have to do that.
Yeah, do it. It's just water, right?
No, it's vodka. That's why I have to do a chaser, because I'm a bitch.
Shit. No, hey, there's no shame in that. There's no shame in that at all. Like, sometimes it's rough. I got BJ's Wee Heavy from BJ's Brewing right here for me. Been down on this the whole time. Yeah, no.
Oh, I hate vodka.
I'm the opposite. I actually kind of love it a lot.
I have to chase the alcohol with more alcohol.
Oh yeah, no, White Claw's the way to do it. Like, yeah, especially when you're out and about. Like, vodka's like the party alcohol for sure. Yeah, no.
Yo, by the way, Gavin,
I
I used to live in New Orleans too, over by Carrollton and St. Charles Street, right there near Cooter Brown.
He said Carrollton and St. Charles Street is where he used to live.
Near Cooter Brown's.
That's my girlfriend's neck of the woods. I don't know shit about. You want to say hi?
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know shit about New Orleans. We lived on Ferret Street, so that's about the extent of my knowledge. But I had a great time while I was living on Ferret Street. Man.
It's crawfish season right now. Did you go to Jazz Fest the end of April?
I wish, bro. I would have loved to have gone to Jazz Fest, but unfortunately we weren't able to make it this year.
Yeah,
well, you'll get there eventually. It's a non-stop flight for you. You can get down there in a hot minute easily. You
ever been to New Orleans? What am I supposed to call you? Stat Pat?
Go with Stat Pat, yeah. I have not.
See, it's sticking, Stat Pat.
I do like it. I like it quite a bit, actually. Yeah, I've never been that far east. I actually did just take a trip to Dallas about a month ago, and like that's
nice.
Yeah, that's about as far east as I have ever gone. Yeah, I went to go see the solar eclipse that passed through the United States up through there. That
oh really? That's was that in the realm of full totality and shit?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I went to like the very center of the path where like the moon was blocking out the sun the longest, and just amazing experience. You're from Kansas City, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Didn't it pass through like just to the east of you? I think.
Well, about 5 years ago, there was a total solar eclipse that occurred in Kansas City. So I did it. Well, I had to drive like 30 minutes, like north of here, to see the totality, and it was freaking amazing. Just like a month or so ago, or whatever, we were quite the full experience.
There we go. Okay, he's back. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So
yeah, there we go.
yeah, no, I actually went up to Oregon to see that one back in 2017. That was incredible. Like it's the whole reason why I planned out the trip to go to Texas is for this one a month ago, and saw the Grand Canyon on the way there, Albuquerque, really really amazing place. But New Orleans is definitely on my bucket list for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
go
it's
for
a great
Jazz
town.
Fest, dude. Jazz Fest is the best because it's the peak crawfish season, and the festival is during the day, so you don't miss out on the New Orleans nightlife. So you go in and to the fairgrounds. You start at like 10 a.m. if you want, and you go all the way till like 6, and then you go into the French Quarter, have a dope dinner, and then you go see the Wolfman on Frenchman Street. It's fantastic.
And
Oh,
it's
the
probably
best.
less packed than like fucking Mardi Gras. The whole city's
Oh,
not
dude,
like
Mardi
closed
Gras is a
down.
waste of time. Mardi Gras, unless you're just doing the parades, Mardi Gras is not that much.
Yeah,
fun.
I was living in New Orleans at the last month I was in New Orleans was Mardi Gras, so I experienced it. But I'm like, I wouldn't. If someone was visiting for the first time, I wouldn't recommend that they go during all of that.
Right.
Yeah, no, I went my freshman year in college to Mardi Gras, and it was fun because I was staying with a local. But oh, I did have an idea, Gavin, to pick your brain here about the product, the YouTube product that I'm thinking about doing is just randomly over the years through education and like through travels and stuff. I know a lot of foreigners who are either living abroad or have lived in the U.S. or living here and from another country or whatever. What do you think about a little series about if I just interviewing them about what does people from their homeland think of America? What do they think of America having lived here, if they have, or what parts of the country have they been to? Just as because I'm trying to do more unscripted content. I've got a lot of writing to do for my scripted stuff, but I thought I ran that idea about a few people because I got people all over Western Europe. I'd have to work, but I could get people Africa, Asia, that all over the world.
I actually think it's a great idea. I think specifically if you're not afraid to lean into sort of clickbaity headlines and thumbnails and stuff like that, I think that people would really click on that kind of stuff. If what a foreigner thinks about American X, Y, or Z, or foreigner responds to this American stereotype, or stuff like that. Like that kind of stuff definitely has the potential to do really well on YouTube, and it can genuinely be insightful and interesting content. So I think that's a great idea, bro.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
One of my roommates when I was in grad school is now working at Saudi Aramco. He's coming to mind right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd go on. I don't know if he'd go on the record with me though.
Yeah, that would be quite the interview.
Yeah, I totally agree. It'd be very fruitful because I've seen some posts where I think there's one in particular that sticks out to me that comes to mind. A woman had married her husband, and he convinced her to move out to America with him, and since they did that, it's just kind of been financially stressful because she specifically named the healthcare system, the cost of living, and just the price of.
Do you know where they moved from?
I forget exactly. Maybe Germany or
Okay,
Gotcha.
live TV. You just lie. You just lie. StatPad is when we need an answer. This is a learning moment. You just lie and answer the
Say
question.
Norway.
The point is, pretty much almost anywhere in at least Western Europe is
Yeah. The rest of the developed world that actually has fucking healthcare. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the point. Yeah. That's the point.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I mean, people talk about the American dream and all that shit, but most people living in like developed European countries, they would not trade their European dream for our American dream.
Well, you know what George Carlin said? George Carlin said, that's why they call it the American dream, because you'd have to be asleep to believe it. He was brilliant, man. He was brilliant. He was so good. He was so good. That should be taught in schools. George Carlin should be like, because senior year, okay, this is an idea, creative idea, like senior year, right? If you're going to college, you've already gotten in, or you haven't, or whatever, right? So it doesn't matter. After spring break, all that time we had these little projects where we'd go and volunteer. I volunteered at the Boston Stock Exchange of all things or whatever. But instead, what if you had like just fun education where you watch like legendary stand-up comedy, all the old classic movies, like even like, like Dances with Wolves. Like so many people haven't seen Dances with Wolves because it's
True.
3 hours long.
Bro,
and it's
I
so
haven't
demanding.
seen Dances with
Yeah.
Wolves. I haven't
It's
fucking.
so
I'll
good.
admit it right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
it's a magnificent film.
There's literally like an American like archive of classic movies that like over time like more and more movies are added to it. I forget exactly like what
it's like the culturally significant archive of
Yeah.
motion picture works or whatever.
Something like that. Yeah. Where literally like if a film is significant enough, it gets added to it, and there. I mean,
Yeah.
all kinds.
It's like
of
the
movies.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for
Yes.
movies.
yeah, exactly. So like all the movies you would expect to find it like are probably in there, like Gone with the Wind, Casablanca. Spinell, I swear you need to behave.
By the way, what are your guys' favorite movies? That's one question I always like to ask.
Oh,
Well, I actually work in the business, so I've got a lot of it. I could talk your ear off for days about that. But the movie that I give as the most structurally sophisticated film, then I actually studied it in film school, is Inception. And one of the reasons why it's so structurally sophisticated, I won't give you the delineation. Maybe we could
Fucking
do an episode
Nolan,
on,
bro.
We
I
could
get
do
it.
We could do it. Well, we
Christopher Nolan.
It's too high IQ for me to understand. No, I'm just kidding. I do.
Yeah,
love
no, I mean
Inception.
it's in order
Brain's
to
still in recovery.
in order to analyze it properly, you have to do it for like 20 or 30 minutes. Yeah,
I do love it. I do love Inception.
But the real genius of it, though, that I don't think most people realize, just to put it into a nugget, is it looks like a concept film, but it's actually a character piece. And what I mean by that is that if you recall at the end of the film, spoiler alert, he effectively, it's not really a spoiler, but he effectively goes into hell, right? To cleanse his spirit of the guilt and shame and bad juju he had over not killing his wife, but actually something worse than killing his wife, fucking with her mind so much that she kills herself. And now you're into that archetypal question that no one ever really wants to talk about. But like when people kill themselves, is it always their fault? Like whose fault is it? Is it anyone's fault? Is that even the right framing? So now like you've sent your audience down this huge spiraling genius rabbit hole of existential questions, and at the end of the day, I think the best stories do explore existential questions, and Inception does it in a very subtle way.
Completely agree. Like that's probably like one of the most important messages of the film, in my opinion. Yeah. No. I love movies that like present like existential hypotheses. I'm trying to think of some that like come to mind. iRobot. It's one of my favorites. Kind of a silly film, Will Smith, but it's definitely ahead of its time. It's still.
I still haven't seen iRobot.
No, yeah, it's
It's fun.
Yeah, it's
fun.
It's a good movie. Yeah, that other existential movies. Fucking Wall-E.
It's a good one.
Yeah, but
I mean, have you seen Citizen Kane?
I haven't. No. Like I know.
I mean, if
Have
you
you
want to
even
go,
seen Citizen Kane, bro?
No,
Have
no,
you even
no. I mean,
seen?
yeah, that's. I didn't. Did that? How is that how it came out? Because that is not how I meant
I'm
it.
just kidding, bro.
No. Hey, laughter is truth, man. It sounded. It's somewhere in your brain. It was like that's what it sounds like. So I mean, maybe it did sound like that. But no, I mean, I don't. I only ever say it that way is be like I don't blame you or hold it against you or like whatever. It's like the one that everybody kind of goes to as like the paradigm of like the first legend, the first classic. It's kind of
Citizen
regarded as the
Kane
first
is
classic.
worth watching. I will say that it's not even like just a film school text. Like it's a genuinely good movie. Like it actually is. It has earned its place as one of the greatest films of all time. I will say Inception is fire. I totally agree with you on that. Analysis of the movie. It's classic. Have you seen Tenet?
I haven't seen it because I heard it was really bad. But I don't know. I've got a list, man. I'm more into TV now than anything.
That's fair. I was just wondering. I think it's kind of bad too. I was just wondering if you had a different opinion because some Nolan bros are like, it's actually genius.
Well, the Interstellar thing was ambitious. I thought that it's kind of an intellectual cheat code to come up with an idea like a 5-dimensional organism. Whoa, like what? Like, so God, okay? He came up with another name for God.
With Interstellar? Like, yeah. Interstellar was I didn't love it. I will say with Inception and Oppenheimer, Nolan's latest movie, I think one of the truly brilliant aspects of those movies, both of them, is that Christopher Nolan kind of made them both about filmmaking. Like, I think you can trace a lot of sort of analogies or allegories with both of those movies to like the filmmaking and artistic process, which I think makes them like so special in his filmography because they are so personal in that way. But yeah, I also totally agree with your analysis of the suicide stuff.
I think the other hands down like best duo story has got to be Shawshank Redemption. That's that movie is talk about a redemption story. And because the fundamental of storytelling, it's in colloquial terms, it's getting fucked over. It's also known as in like film literature, undeserved misfortune. So if you think about all of the great characters that you love in film and TV, they've all either got something wrong with them or they have been screwed over by life or circumstances beyond their control in some sort of way. And that's the real art of the story, is the story. It's called the internal flaw. The story, the circumstances of the story force the protagonist to look right at that internal flaw. I call it the scar, and deal with it. So that's like when Inception, he goes and he deals with all that guilt that he has. That's a surreal amount of guilt. But yeah, and obviously Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption, getting convicted of a crime that you didn't commit, that's got to suck. That's the ultimate suck, right? As far as, that's a pretty bad one. So now he's got the journey of just getting to freedom. So he goes into hell at the beginning of the movie. Like all like great legendary stories at the end of the day, you could say are about some man or woman going through hell.
Or movies that like take that are character pieces in and of themselves that show like someone's trajectory, like on either like just a negative path or otherwise. Like Martin Scorsese films, Taxi Driver, the guy becomes more and more insane as the movie goes on.
Right.
Or Goodfellas, a deeper and deeper life of crime, getting into drugs and this and that. Really, really interesting movies like that. Speaking of favorite movies, the one that I always go back to, and like a movie that will never get old for me, is Forrest Gump. That's always been a favorite of mine. And more like standard like franchises that like everybody says is their favorites, like the Lord of the Rings franchise.
Sure.
Star Wars.
But you do, real quick before you move on from Forrest Gump, don't you think Forrest Gump's a little fucked up?
Yeah, of course. Don't
you think so? The fucking end up.
Zach loves to make this point. Zach hates Forrest Gump.
Oh, he does.
Hold on.
Yes, don't ever bring up Forrest Gump around Zach. He will fucking chastise you.
I don't necessarily see it as a positive.
Have you seen this?
For various things.
I like Forrest Gump. I think Forrest Gump is a decent, defensible movie. I understand that not every single political message with the Black Panther stuff. It's kind of cringy. Who gives a shit? LOL, the Family Guy.
You love me, but I'm gonna go run a train with this group of Black Panthers I just met.
Okay, Jenny.
Hi, Forrest. I know you came all this way to New York to visit me, but I'm gonna go do blow and have sex with a bunch of stockbrokers.
Okay, Jenny.
Hi,
Okay.
Forrest. Now that I have the most contagious and incurable disease known to mankind, I'll finally have pity sex with you.
Okay,
That's
Jenny.
hilarious,
And
bro.
I'll
That's
mow the
funny.
grass and raise the
That's
hay,
kind of true
baby.
too.
Raise
That's
the
literally what
AIDS,
happens in the movie. She's like, I have AIDS now. Let's fuck.
It's literally-
So I guess I did some digging. And it's actually they say it's Hep B or Hep C.
Oh, really?
It's not actually HIV.
It's not AIDS?
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was AIDS. Everybody thinks it's AIDS, but I did some digging. And
Do they not say AIDS in the movie? Is it?
No.
No,
it
they don't
was-
say AIDS
they
in the
left it
movie. They
vague.
say they don't know what it's called yet,
What?
which is and it was actually supposed to be one of the more subtle things. I mean, she was fucking everything that moved, so
Yeah, and
it made sense.
I always thought it was AIDS because
Same.
like that takes place like modern day in the film, which is early 80s at that
Right.
and that was during around that time the AIDS scare that Reagan completely fucking
Yep.
screwed up and whatnot. So like I always assumed it was AIDS.
Me too.
Have you guys heard of the AIDS quilt?
AIDS.
No.
So
I've
the
heard
AIDS
about
quilt-
what it is.
So the
Is that
AIDS
a
quilt
sequel
is like
to Forrest Gump?
No, it should be though. No, the AIDS quilt. I actually studied it in college. I had this gay professor who had us study this thing in this course called Public Memory, where it's not about, like we studied Gettysburg, for example. It's not about the history of what happened there. It's about what people recall and how people think about that thing. So he did the AIDS quilt as basically the first real national piece of activism for gays in America. And it was you would put a patch for someone you knew who died of AIDS, and then they would get added to the quilt over and over again. And then eventually with Clinton, they brought it to the White House, and it's been showcased all over the world or something like that. And so we studied that, and that's like, again, that's another obscure piece of American history that should be recognized.
Yeah.
So I think our education system has a long way to go. I think it's shocking to me in the 90s that I even learned about civil rights without this, with the way that that people are now. I mean, everything's repeating. These protests going on right now are just Vietnam all over again. Like, the conflict, the location of the conflict changed, the context of the conflict changed, but it's still violence. It's still unnecessary, and it's about territory, but it's also justified through religion, and that's a whole other thing that the left needs to be more offensive about. I hate this Gavin Newsom shit where he's talking about going on offense. What does that even mean, man? What does that even mean? But anyway, we're getting on politics again. You guys want to stay on film, you're being artsy. So you guys, we can bring it back to film if you guys want.
No, I mean, I completely agree though, because like it's like it definitely echoes the that era, because it's just another thing that we're funding that like we do not agree with. Like, there's atrocities being committed in our name with our tax dollars, and how dare these young people stand up for it? Like, when will these young people learn? Oh wait, we haven't learned anything either. Like, goddamn.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, man. I mean, I totally agree. I remember when we were talking to Jesse Ventura a month ago or so. Not even that.
No way.
He was, he came on the show about, I think it was actually on April 19th, the day before 420, because he was, coming on to talk about the launch of his new cannabis brand and all this stuff like that. But anyway, he was mentioning that, the cyclical nature of everything, how it feels like it's just a constant repetition, how even the protests against racism were so reminiscent of those from the 70s and 60s, and it's like, when are we ever going to truly progress as a society? So it's it's tough.
Yeah, like it's true. Like it's so true, because like if you listen to like little segments of radio programs from the 90s and 2000s that talk politics, they're almost indistinguishable from the ones that you hear today. Like, it's like these topics, these issues never change. Like, they're always they're still being talked about, and it's like it's crazy. And like, I don't know if you've ever played like Grand Theft Auto 4, like even 2008.
Just 5, honestly. I've only played Grand Theft Auto 5.
if you listen to like some of the radio stations, like their parodies of like Fox News and NPR and shit like that, and it's like even in those games, they know how to like poke fun of politics in like
Yeah.
the most jarringly accurate ways, where it's like damn, that's pretty much exactly what the issue is.
Yeah.
It's like nothing really changes. What we got here?
I used this in one of my episodes.
I am always on the side of the revolutionists because there never was a revolution unless there were some oppressive and intolerable conditions against which to revolute. Yeah.
He's a Kentucky Wasp. Don't forget.
Crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Ahead of his time too. Like when did his books come out? Were
Pretty
they-
racist as fuck, I think, too, though, right?
Mark
Pretty
Twain.
sure he was. Yeah,
Was he?
I'm pretty sure he was racist as fuck. I think he was racist as fuck.
Didn't
Everybody
he write?
was.
Didn't
dude.
he write Huckleberry
Like,
Finn or whatever?
Yeah.
Well,
Is that why there's so many in words in that book?
I mean,
yeah,
it's just that's the way life was. I mean,
Yeah,
we got to get over
it's
it.
the
Like,
vernacular
it's just
of
the
the
way it
time.
was.
I do think for his time, even though that was common vernacular, and of course he used that and whatnot, I do think he was a lot more progressive than his contemporaries.
He was,
for the
yeah,
time
for
the
sure.
time being. 'Cause
For sure.
I forget exactly.
He was
when.
all about economic equality, that's for sure. But in terms of like, right, there's just like racism comes in different shapes, sizes,
Of
and
course.
colors, and
Yeah.
his was definitely just the way he looked at people, like in personally, and oh, that's nice to have a black man in the room. That's fun. Like that kind of attitude is probably what it was, and it wasn't more like I don't think that they deserve a chance at a good life in America.
Yeah.
You know,
I,
at the expense of the white man. Like
know
that's
exactly what you
not what he was thinking.
right.
you
Yeah.
know. But I'm big on the quotes, man. We got to know our quotes. That's another thing we got to know because there's some good ones out there. There's some real good
Big
ones,
time.
even in the New Testament. My favorite thing is when when you got someone who knows the New Testament taking on a conservative and just absolutely destroying.
Yeah, there's a
their
lot of
argument
lefty
with their own
shit in the
text.
New Testament, that's for sure.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, he hated the rich, dude. He hated the rich.
Yep. Hey guys, I'm probably gonna have to
Gotta
peace
go.
out of here,
All right, yeah, man.
but it was
Awesome.
great to chat with you all.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
Gavin. See you later.
Thanks a bunch, dude. I really, really appreciate you coming on. You're definitely welcome to come back anytime.
I'd
Yeah,
love
let's
to,
get
man.
you back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
let's
was a
get you
great
back
conversation.
sometime soon. All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Have a good night.
Absolutely. Great to meet you, stateless patriot, and
Absolutely.
great to chat.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was a good
All
shit.
right, that was Gavin from the Vanguard. Wow, what a nice guy, giving
Yeah.
us all that time, and he's got a great show. If you're still watching, and you didn't know, I put a @ for his channel in the description. If you haven't checked that out, is there a name for that when you say @ something? That's just an @ something, right? When I @ you, yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
When it's like,
whatever his tag was. Is that,
I added.
yeah.
Anyway, we're getting stupid. All right. So, was there anything else you wanted to talk about here? I know I texted you some more stuff. Let's see if we could talk. We could do current events. I just didn't want to get bogged down with that with Gavin. But
I mean, we basically covered it. I mean, the only couple things that kind of interested me that we didn't touch on was
as Marjorie Taylor Greene fails to get Johnson ousted because the Dems save him. I thought that was interesting.
There was that, the Dana White clip, and the Macklemore song. But I mean, yeah.
I don't know. It's a little bit anticlimactic. I got nobody watching me. Do you have anybody watching you?
I got 3.
Do you want to try to do Friday or this weekend? Or are you too busy?
I work all 3 days.
All right, forget it.
unfortunately.
All right, then. If you want to do something now, we can. If we got the momentum. If you got
Yeah, so-
viewers, we should keep them.
So what happened with Marjorie Taylor Greene?
She tried to get Mike Johnson ousted
Of course.
as the speaker,
And so that completely failed.
and that failed. And there was like 100 some odd Democrats that helped to keep him in. Here we go. So we'll take a look at
Yeah,
this.
it's a really, really interesting thing because, like, they kind of understand, and Republicans even understand, that he's the one keeping the Twitter faction of Republicans at bay.
One, Marjorie Taylor Greene, nothing. The Speaker has officially lived to fight another day. The House officially voting to kill Marjorie Taylor Greene's motion to vacate. Let's bring in my colleague, NBC's Ali Vitale, who's live on Capitol Hill for us. Charlie and Paul are still with us as well. Ali, what was this about? Earlier in the hour, we brought the news that she had introduced this motion to vacate, something that Kevin McCarthy brought us as a country, that it only takes one now, and it's already dead. Explain.
Well, this is how we thought we would be starting the week, Nicole, with Marjorie Taylor Greene coming into the House chamber and privileging her motion, effectively saying, hey, I'm putting a clock on this. You've got 2 days to put it on the floor about whether or not you want to table or move ahead with this vote to oust the Speaker. Ultimately, what we saw happen here is that Marjorie Taylor Greene, though it's midweek for everybody else, it is the end of the legislative week here for those on the House of Representatives. They canceled votes tomorrow, and Marjorie Taylor Greene came in to cap off the week by saying, here's my privileged motion, and read it on the House floor. As soon as she did that, Nicole, she was met with boos from both sides of the chamber, and you see it reflected in the vote total that we saw in just the last minute or so as they closed out on the House floor, tabling this resolution. To put it in plain terms, the question that was posed to the House of Representatives was, do you want to kill...
doubt it at all.
You think they're going to try and primary her?
Yeah, like, they're, like...
Just get her out of the way?
They're so fucking done with her. Like, I've heard that... there's a rumor going around that, like, if the motion to kick Johnson out was successful, that multiple Republicans are going to step down. Like, they're going to resign immediately. Like, a lot of the GOP is not happy with Marjorie Taylor Greene right now, Space Laser Lady.
So I have completely lost control of the feed. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you just fine, but you're...
And see me?
Or
am I frozen?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine,
yeah,
but you're frozen.
Your screen is frozen, but I can still hear you just fine. And it looks like I can... yeah, everything's still good on my stream as well.
Oh, man. All right, we'll just keep talking. I'll see what I can do here.
Okay. Yeah, because I got my stream playing on the phone.
This is so crazy because I'm just looking at a frozen screen right now.
Right.
I think I might have to. I think I might have to.
My stream as well.
Oh man! All right, we'll just keep talking. I'll see what I can do here.
Man, ain't that some shit, Spinell? Huh, baby girl? Indeed, it just crashed out. Huh, sweetheart? I love how you're just posed perfectly for the camera. Little baby. Can't open camera. What the hell? Well, this is fun. Good stream. Gavin's a good guy. If you're still here, say hi. No one likes to say hi. And that's low-key hella lame.
Hey, I think I'm back.
Yes, you are.
Nice.
All
That was
right.
fun. All right, well, I'm glad we got to actually deal with that situation. Now we know how to deal with it, so not a problem.
Yeah.
We didn't freak out. We handled it with poise.
Yeah, and it's all, it also kind of reinforces like the fact that streaming on both channels is a good idea, just in case, you know.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's a very good point. All right, let's see. What else do we want to talk about? I mean, the student protesters, the Macklemore viral song, or we can't, like, I saw Humanist Report cover it, and I don't think you can actually watch it or something. It might get copyrighted.
I don't know about copyright because I don't even think it's been posted anywhere but Twitter.
But Twitter? If it's on Twitter, then we can show it, right? Because they would get busted otherwise.
Well, the actual song, like, yeah, I don't know if it's, like, officially released on any, like, streaming platforms or anything like that, so I don't think it
Do we want to go for
copyrighted. We don't have to. We can just look through the lyrics. If you want, we can do that. Like,
I don't really like Macklemore. I don't even really want to do this story.
yeah, it's a great song though.
Did you see the classified documents case got postponed indefinitely? Did you see that?
What the hell is that about? Like, what do you mean postponed
Yeah.
indefinitely?
Yeah, it postponed indefinitely. Cannon, this judge, Cannon, down in Florida, I think it is. Let Let me see if I can get some traditional media up about it. Trump documents case. Because here, let's do Jake Tapper. Yes. Talk to me, Jake. This guy's such a stud. And he's from Philly. All right, here we go.
Now, in Donald Trump's federal classified documents case, the judge in Florida has indefinitely postponed his trial. Let's get straight to CNN's Caitlin Polans. Caitlin, what is driving this incredibly consequential decision by Judge Cannon?
Well, Judge Eileen Cannon in Florida says that this classified documents case against Donald Trump, it's too complicated and there's too much to do right now that she has to work through. And so she's taken the trial date off of the calendar, instead laid out a plan through essentially the end of July to handle other issues in this case, largely around the use of classified documents. Remember, this is a case charging Donald Trump with the mishandling of nearly 36 national security records. And because it's about national security, Jake, there's quite a lot of classified material.
So the judge can't handle the homework, so everyone else has to wait.
Isn't this one of Trump's appointed judges?
Yeah.
Of course.
Is part of the case, and that the defense team is going to try and argue to use in their case to present to a jury or somehow in the trial. That is a big, hefty thing that this court has to work through. And so that is what is going to be taking place during the summer before Judge Eileen Cannon. She now has a hearing on the calendar for May, one for June, and then another for July, but no trial date. And she says once she gets through all of the other stuff she has to do in this case, that's when she will be announcing when the trial will take place. The bottom line here, Jake, is exceedingly unlikely, almost to the point where it may be an impossibility for Donald Trump to go to trial in this Florida classified documents case before the November election.
Wow. Caitlin Polans, thanks so much. Let's bring back CNN's Paula Reed, as well as former Trump White House attorney Jim Schultz. So, Paula, a significant shift, certainly playing into Trump's strategy of delay. But also, we should note, Special Counsel Jack Smith really has voiced some serious concerns, if not...
All right, we don't need to do this. Yeah, no, like bullshit. I don't want to be one of those channels that just watches the, just want to get the basic information and then move on.
Sure. Well,
let's see what we got here. Yeah, so classified documents case, dead in the water as far as I'm concerned. This was the, it's just, what confidence should we have in the American justice system at this point?
Right.
How much confidence should we have in that? Should we have any confidence in it? I don't think so.
Yeah, no kidding. Everything moves so slowly, and it's clear that these judges are biased, and, like, how do you even remedy such a thing, It's gross. And then there's this story about like a district attorney in New York, like getting pulled over by a cop, and then it's like pulling the whole, like, I don't need to abide by your rule because she was speeding or something like that, and who cares? Like, I didn't want to stop. I didn't feel like stopping. I felt like speeding. And it's this whole thing now, and apparently, like, the governor's getting involved in the, like, whole investigations, getting launched into it. It's
different kind of entitlement.
It really is. Yeah, it's fucking disgusting.
But there you go, just another case. Just scratch it up, man. This is what I'm saying. You got to have the attitude of, with Trump and justice, I'll believe it when I see it. Speaking of seeing something interesting, let's talk about this little thing. I haven't seen this. This is from the Lincoln Project. This is about Kristi Noem's little most recent episode that has made her radioactive to both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
Dog owners know our furry friends can be a lot to keep up with. But when those tough moments come, you have options. Shooting your dog in the face should not be one of them. And if you do happen to shoot your dog in the face, please don't write about it in your autobiography.
Oh my God.
This has been a public service announcement directed at any Republican who may be considering murdering their dog.
Oh, okay. Bravo. Good job, guys.
The most creative conservatives, man. The most creative conservatives are on the Lincoln Project.
Even though they're Lincoln Project. That checks out. Well played.
I love how they just claim Lincoln. You got to love how the Republicans claim Lincoln. Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Lincoln would be a Republican today. You fucking idiots.
Right. No kidding.
Let's see. Scarlett Johansson. No, I'm getting some good recommendations from the algorithm here. So that was even conservatives bailing on Kristi Noem. I mean, just absolute idiot. She is so dumb. Yep. She's a good example of why you just shouldn't be using only looks to evaluate someone's ability. I mean, I'm all about camera-friendly talent, but let's see what this is. This is
contenders to be Donald Trump's VP pick, but that all changed after the release of excerpts from her new book titled No Going Back. It includes lessons from her time as a governor and a congresswoman, but also stories that have drawn criticism. One about her killing a hunting dog, and another about meeting North Korea's dictator. Governor Noem is with us at the table. Good morning to you, Governor. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Good to have you here in person. Let's talk first. We want to talk about a lot of topics that you address in the book, but the book is called No Going Back, but it's...
I was actually at the gym, and this was playing on one of the TVs. I was like, are you shitting me? Why are they giving Kristi Noem a platform? And then I saw that they confronted her about her fucking dog, and I was like, okay, all right. Like,
I think the powers that be at the GOP just wanted her to torch her own house, and just burn it down. You know, like she could, that way she can hang herself, and then no one has to get blamed, and she's just out of the picture forever. I mean, the arrogance to think that you can talk your way out of this. What an idiot and cruel, evil woman.
No,
sounds like the publisher, Center Street, is going back on a couple of the details in the book. I don't believe specifically when you write in the book. I remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. I'm sure he underestimated me. That, as I understand, is now being removed from the book at your request.
Yes, when I became aware of that, we changed the content, and the future editions will be adjusted. And
down little tyrants. She was talking about. Oh my God.
Narcissism. Ew.
Wow.
I appreciate that. I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I should not have put that anecdote in the book, and at my request, they have posted.
Didn't happen?
But it didn't happen. It was the anecdote.
I'm saying that I'm not talking about that meeting. I'm not talking about my meetings with world leaders.
But
there's some that are in the book.
There's
some that are in the book, and then there's some that's not in the book.
But why are there two specific mentions of meeting Kim Jong-un and talking about him, and a specific memory? I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. Did you tell your ghostwriter to write that?
I specifically have worked on policy for over 30 years, and over that time, I have traveled around the world, and I have met with leaders around the world. And that anecdote, I've asked them to change the content, and it will be removed. It's a simple.
That's another trait of narcissism, is superiority.
Question: did you or did you not?
That's the answer that I have for you. Is that it will be adjusted, and as soon as I became aware of it, that content was removed.
What about this purported call between former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley?
Fucking book before it was even published, Kristi. Give me a break.
Also, the fakeness too. That little moment of acting right here. Check this out. This is also a narcissistic.
I have for you is that it will be adjusted, and as soon as I became aware of it, that content was removed.
What about this purported call between former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley and
evil.
you? Her team is saying a phone call was made, but back during 2020, during the pandemic, to offer support to you and the state of South Dakota. However, you describe it as a threatening phone call. What can you tell us about?
Well, I think that certainly her retelling of the story makes sense, because that's kind of what Nikki Haley does. She says whatever works for her at that moment in time. So we had conversations in 2020, we had conversations in 2021. So that story is absolutely true. I did feel threatened after that phone call very much. It was clear she was the lone wolf, and that there wasn't room for another Republican woman in politics.
But Governor, I am curious though about why you felt threatened. Only because she says I'm calling from one governor to another. I just want to offer my mentorship. She says that you said. She said I want to offer my mentorship. I've heard great things about you, and if I hear something bad about you, I'll let you know. I read that, and I didn't think of it as a threat. I actually thought she was reaching out to you. What about it was threatening to you?
Well, words matter, and twice she repeated to me with long pauses that when she heard bad things, that she would make sure that I knew. And she said that, let me be clear, I will make sure that you know when I hear bad things. And there was never another phone call.
Why is that a bad thing? Because I had a friend who was somebody who said I want to mentor you, and if I hear bad things about you, I'll let you know. I would be appreciative of that.
And they'd be friendly.
Yeah.
They'd probably call you again, check on you.
So
if you remember,
to you?
you remember during that time, it was during COVID.
Yes.
It was the only state in the entire country
that stayed open
and widely criticized by Republicans and Democrats. I didn't have a friend. There was not people that were calling me and saying, Kristi, you're right. You're making the right decisions for your people. You're following the Constitution. And typically, when I mentor people and I want to be friendly, I check on them. I call them. There was never once an outreach, and we were in many meetings after that where she was not friendly. I was not kind, and her words were not kind.
So you two disagree on the characters.
Well, and I think that's pretty typical of Nikki Haley, though, is that she's.
So that's a good way, though. I mean, it's an effective rhetorical tactic to play the victim against someone has higher status than you, and then that gives you the opportunity for people who are kind of on the fence about you to kind of root for you to beat the bully, right? That's what she's kind of doing. Like, Nikki Haley is a bully, and I'm trying to replace her as the sexiest female Republican this country's ever seen. That's what she's thinking. That's what Chris. This is a sociopath right here.
Yeah. She's the person who said, I'm never going to run against Donald Trump, and then runs against Donald Trump, and says one thing and then does another. It's pretty consistent.
It's kind of how politics go.
It is. Well,
that's what you guys
do. Have to be. And that's why I wrote this book.
All right.
I wrote this book because politics doesn't have to be that way.
Yes.
Politics can be just normal human beings who want to serve each other.
You always say, forget about
No, it can't. It can't.
Your state was one of the had one of the highest death rates per capita, and give me a break.
fix in politics, step into the chaos and move the nation
It
forward.
is chaos.
What you want. It's
I
very
think people are
chaotic.
scared to run for office in this day and age. I think they're scared to even support people publicly because of the chaos of it, and the desire to really serve can lead to people coming after you and your family and your business and your finances, and then that tends to lead to chaos. So I think that concerns a lot of people in America. This is a how-to guide for the average citizen, for an American. That here's some history, here's my
You actually say
experience.
the people have the power.
The people do have the power. Wait,
Here's my history, here's my experience. And we want to speak about one of those experiences. You have received huge backlash from your story about killing your 14-month-old puppy, Cricket, I believe it was, because he was aggressive or
That's a female.
She was aggressive or, untrainable. Do you regret writing about that?
So this book is filled with painful, vulnerable stories. And this story people have known for years. My political opponents have tried to use the story against me in previous campaigns. I want people to know the truth, and that's why I put that in this book. This was a dog that I was at second chance. It had come to me from a family that had found her to be way too aggressive. I was a dog trainer, raised dogs, and she was
Do you still
killing
like
livestock.
dogs?
Oh, I love dogs.
You do?
Yeah, I have a dear dog named Foster right now that goes everywhere with me.
But Governor, people would say, why couldn't you just give the dog to someone else? Let him be on a farm, or at the very least, if you thought the dog was really aggressive, have them put down in a humane manner. I think, number one, when we hear puppy, it's not a little puppy.
It's an adult working dog. It was an adult working dog, and this is a humane manner according to the American Veterinary Society. Every state in the country has a law that allows what I did, and the purpose of telling the
humane way to treat a dog?
Yes, the purpose of telling the story was so that people would know I don't pass my responsibilities on to anybody else. It was extremely hard.
She just shot him in the face. Is that like considered humane? Aren't you supposed to like gas them or like, give them drugs? Aren't you supposed to like get them high so they don't feel anything?
For me, and that's clear when you read the story, that it was a difficult decision for me. But when you have an animal that you, as a mom, you have to decide: do I choose the safety of my children over an aggressive animal that attacks people? I chose as a mom for my.
It's just so hard, Governor, for people to get past.
I understand.
Yeah.
Prior to that story coming out, you were considered to be a top contender as a VP pick for Donald Trump. Is that still the case? Do you think?
I've never once
turned on you.
I think that the media has turned on me, and I understand that. I think that's part of
Again,
being
more
honest.
victimhood.
Like what the anchor right there was saying to, like, you were one of the top Republican candidates. You
Right.
realize, like, how
You
badly
blew it. You
fucked
blew
up.
it.
You just fucked up, right?
Honest and being genuine. I think the American people want somebody who's real and doesn't
Genuine?
pretend to be something that they're not. I've never once said that I'm perfect.
Oh yeah,
I've never said that I've made every
you look at
decision
hold on
perfect,
this
but I'm
woman.
honest about it. And the reason I told this story is because most politicians, they run from the truth.
Again, marketing. Do you think this woman and the word real go together? Just by looking at her.
No,
just by looking at her, and then when you start hearing her talk, of course not, because she's full of shit.
Like, okay, do you know that fucking weird?
Republicans are just shameless, man. Fox News, the whole nine. Like, they're just like, if a chick is hot and can string two sentences together, let's get her in front of a camera, and having her be the mouthpiece for MAGA America.
You know the God, what was his name? The guy who was on like ABC Nightly News or whatever. The pastor guy, who said he didn't want to be on the airplane because those are like a tube full of demons or something like that. I forget his.
I don't remember.
I forget his name, but he had like the craziest eyes, and that's who Kristi Noem reminds me of. Just like just like the eyes of a fucking demon. It's just like, where the hell did you get those?
Truth, and they hide from making
You're
tough
not running from the
decisions.
truth. You were doubling down. The book is filled with a lot of anecdotes about your life, about your family and your children.
Right.
You're raised in a ranching.
Something else to know about attractive women is who are narcissists, which you can tell just by the way she talks that she's a narcissist. But the narcissism of an attractive woman is a certain kind of narcissism, and it leads to a certain kind of sociopathy and just a complete inability to empathize with others. Oh, not everyone's attractive. Not everyone knows how to get attention. Not everyone will listen to you.
Ranching family where there was no distinction between boy chores and girl chores.
Right.
And so how do you want history to remember you? I know your career is still in process.
Right.
But you talk about history. How do you want to be remembered?
I want history to remember me as someone who tried, who got up every single day and recognized that my purpose for being created was to serve people, and to do good things for them and to help them. And I think it's a part of almost every speech that I give is the reminder to people that
Who's
they're
this
the
guy?
ones who can make a
He's a
difference in someone's
former
life.
NFL
And
player.
that we were
It's
created
like,
to
you're
serve
full
other
of
people. And if
shit.
we have that mindset, that's really what would fix this country.
That said, you said, I never dreamed of being in politics. To be honest, politics actually sucks, but it is energizing and rewarding.
It is, because every day I get stories of people whose lives we helped. The veteran, we helped them get their health care needs met. The individual who, maybe had a tree branch fall on their house, and we were able to bring, a couple of people from my office over to help them get it off. And that we were maybe able to relieve somebody of a financial burden that was really dealing with something they were struggling with their family. I think that is, and get people trained to fill a job that they've always wanted. That's the one thing about being governors. Governors are CEOs. We get the chance to wake up every day and make a decision that helps people. And that's the mindset that we need to have if we really want to have the right leaders in places that we need them today.
Well, you have a sign at the governor's residence that says, underestimate, it will be fun.
Yeah. Well, I've spent my whole life getting underestimated.
Of that preacher, by the way, his name is Kenneth Copeland. That's who this fucking bitch reminds me of.
Oh, I know who Kenneth Copeland is, yeah.
Yeah, looks like him.
I know who he is. Yeah, no, she's crazy. She's crazy. They're freaks, man.
Yeah.
They're freaks, and that's what I mean.
Literal psychos.
Like we gotta come up with the details of this sports metaphor. So it's like if the conservatives were an old school football team, it's like who is the dirtiest? Like they're the Black Sox of that World Series game that they lost on purpose because of that New York gangster or whatever had a bunch of money on him. Anyway, I don't know. It needs work. This is not Mad Men. We are not that creative, that quick-witted.
I mean, well, that's the thing is like this kind of thing is unprecedented. Like you only in the era of Trump, like within the past half decade, have there been crazy psycho extremist Republicans like this that say the most outlandish shit, that are just completely unhinged. So like it's easy to see why it's hard to like get a grasp on what exactly they are, you know, and like how to summarize them, I guess, because they're just all sorts of fucking insane.
All right, man. I think I'm done.
Yeah.
I think I've got to call it a night.
Yeah, I'm spent.
I got to go eat. And but this was fun. We went for a while.
Yeah.
I'll leave the stream up. Let's go ahead and say goodbye to the audience, then we'll chat for a second.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday, May 8th. We'll be back early next week, and we'll see you guys Monday, right? Probably Monday?
Yes, it should be Monday, unless something drastic happens, of course. Yeah, go subscribe to the Vanguard if you haven't. Gavin
Right.
was an awesome guest. That was so cool.
Really fun.
And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Change in America doesn't. No, sorry. Shit.
There we go.
I was like, wait, it's something about change.
You don't
get change in America by asking nicely.
There we go. Hell yeah. Good night, guys.
Go, we'll do better next time.
Oops.